to the HS Game Time Soccer Championship Preview Show. Step inside the HS Game Time studios as we break down the title games featuring our 4 local teams. Thanks for joining us. I'm Pep Fernandez. We start the show with San Jacinto. The top seed in Division 5 has reached the CIF championship game after a 2-1 victory versus Godinez in the semifinals. That sets up a San Jacinto versus Saddleback title game Saturday at 9:30 in the morning at Corona High School. We are joined by HS Game Time soccer guru Dennis Pope. He's been covering soccer all season long. He's seen these teams. Let's start with the Tigers. You saw them not too long ago, I believe, against Citrus Hill, right, in league play?
Yeah, I saw them up at Citrus Hill. That's correct.
Yeah, and San Jacinto only 1 loss all season long. I caught up with the guys after their semifinal win. They said they should have won that game. They could be undefeated this season, but they headed to the championship game. What are your thoughts as they head into the finals?
Jacinto, they had an amazing season. They started out super hot. I think they rattled off like 10 consecutive victories to start the season. And then it's seemingly after that victory, they got things back on track. And ever since the playoffs started, they've been working their way through things. And they had 2 great victories on the road at Desert Hot Springs and at Apple Valley Granite Hills. And those are 2 definite places to have to travel to and get victories from in the conditions that those places present, like the wind and the dust and the sand sometimes. So.
And San Jacinto's the top seed, right, in Division 5, so are they the favorite against Saddleback?
You would think so. Anytime a team is a top seed, you think they'd be the favorite. And I think that San Jacinto definitely thinks they're the favorite.
And they had a great crowd out there in the semifinals, and they've got the short distance to Corona. Hopefully they'll get they'll travel well, and the Tiger fans will make the trip to Corona High School for that championship game. Although Saturday morning, they got the first game, right?
It's 9 a.m., so they're probably going to be some eye crust.
Sure. Get up early if you want to see San Jacinto play for the Division 5 CIF championship against Saddleback. Okay, at 2:30, a little bit later in the day, in Division 6, we've got Carter. What do we know about the Lions?
Oh, they're unbeaten. They're 23-0-5 this season. So they didn't take a loss at all, and they've just been dominating in the playoffs so far.
And they're playing Animo Leadership?
Yeah, they're a small school. They have about the enrollment of probably Carter's senior class. So they're going to be a very tight-knit team, you would think, and probably present a challenge in terms of their team chemistry. What they're able to accomplish as a team, probably as a defensive unit, probably will present challenges for Carter.
And Carter's coming off a win in the semifinals against Kate of Carpinteria, which I believe is a defending CIF champion, correct, in that division?
That's correct. And they beat Rubidoux at Rubidoux in a very tough quarterfinal game as well last Friday. So they're battle tested. Carter has faced a lot of tough teams. They beat San Gregorio twice in league, and San Gregorio won their tournament for the first time in its history. So they had a very successful season. And they're going to be tough to beat. They have numbers of forwards and midfielders and a lot of attacking talent.
Well, Pope, you've got great insight on the Lions, but even better, we've got Carter's head coach, Dario Navarro, on the phone right now.
Thanks for joining us, Coach. What would you say that the identity of Carter's team this year has been?
The identity of Carter's team this year has been to really focus on being the aggressor on the field and getting the reputation for attacking early, creating spaces with the ball. Not necessarily relying on one player, but playing as a unit and playing with a lot of strength.
What kind of matchup can you expect against Animo Leadership on Saturday?
We expect a close game, a physical game. Being a championship game, it's never easy. And we're going in with the mentality that this is going to be the hardest game we've played yet. And we're really excited to face such a strong opponent. I'm also excited at the fact that it's going to be the number 1 seed versus the number 2 seed. And being that our records are pretty close, we're expecting a close and physical game.
How do you feel that the season has prepared your team for this moment?
Well, from the very beginning, we always try to approach each game for its own sake. We didn't want to think of the overall record. Each game was played to the fullest potential, played as a championship game, regardless of it being preseason, tournament group play, or an actual playoff game. So with that mentality from the get-go, has really helped us and prepared us for where we're at today. And then just the fact that we've played on the road these last 2 games has been extremely helpful. The match against Ruido was really physical and intense, and this last game was also a bit more strategic. And it's been great to see how this team is able to withstand pressure, work as a team, and just take each game one at a time.
Appreciate you taking the time for us today, Coach.
All right, so that was Carter, and sandwiched in between the Carter and San Jacinto games on Saturday at Corona High School, we've got New View Bridge playing in their first CIF championship game as a team in a team sport.
Yeah, that's correct. New View is the place that you go on the way go through on the way to San Jacinto and Hemet. There's virtually a whole lot of nothing out there.
But they can play soccer pretty well.
That's true, and they're a wild card team. So of all the boys teams this year, we had 2 number 1 seeds, and New View is a wild card team. They've played 5 playoff games to this point. They're sort of the Hoosier story of our soccer playoff season, I would think.
And well traveled, right? Who did they play in the semifinals?
Oh, geez.
It was Mammoth.
So they went up to the mountain. Yeah, wow. So, that's and they won in PKs after a 0-0 draw in regulation. So hairy times for New View.
So they've earned this trip to the CIF championship. What did you say, 5 playoff wins to get to this point?
5. They beat Redlands Adventist in the first round, Temecula Prep in the first round, and then they beat Avalon on 1 goal in that game at home, a very narrow victory. And then they did the same thing to Vistamar. So they've traveled quite a way to get to this point.
All right, so Saturday, Corona High School, you got 3 local teams in a row. Dennis will be there, San Jacinto, followed by the New View Bridge game, and then Carter at 2:30.
That's right.
Now, over at Warren High School in Downey, we've got the Citrus Valley girls playing for a Division VI CIF championship. They won the title last year, Dennis. What do we know about the Blackhawks this time around?
Wow, they just seem to keep on winning. Their only defeat, was to Claremont at the San Gorgonio tournament earlier this year, and Claremont was a Division II contender until they lost in the second round, I believe. And Claremont's a fantastic program, so to have only 1 loss this season and to be the number 1 seed in Division VI again, and to be battling for their 2nd consecutive championship, they're putting on maybe something of a little bit of a dynasty right now.
I was just going to say the D word, dynasty. They're still relatively a new school, but they're doing big things already.
That's correct. And their first 2 victories in the playoffs, they outscored their opponents 13-0. So they're scoring goals. They're not allowing any goals hardly at all. I think just the 2 against San Dimas in the semifinal, and their semifinal victory were the first 2 goals that they allowed all postseason. But they got the early game on Saturday morning too. So they're going to have to come ready, and think that they are going to repeat, I think. Okay,
so Dennis, want to make any predictions here? Like who comes out on Saturday with CIF championships?
That's rough.
Are we going to go 4 for 4 with our locals?
I think that might be a little bit of a wish list.
But possible, but doable.
They're in the game, so I think it's doable. I think the team most likely to win on Saturday is Redlands Citrus Valley. They have the numbers, they have the experience. I think if they don't win, then maybe it's a disappointment at this point, to have gone this far again. But of all the boys' sides, the most likely to win in the matchups that I see is Carter. They're playing a Nemo Leadership, a very small school, and Carter has shown the ability to score in bunches and score from all angles. And they have 4, 5, 6 guys scoring so far this postseason. So I think that certainly Carter is probably the favorite of the boys. Not to say anything that San Jacinto can't win or that New View can't win. They're both quality programs, but I'm saying the most likely team to win is probably Carter.
Okay. All right. Nobody knows soccer better than this guy, Dennis Pope. HS Game Time will have you covered with stories and pictures and videos from all of the games on Saturday from the CIF championship matches. For Dennis Pope, I'm Pep Fernandez. Thanks for joining us here on HS Game Time.